I have a remarkable panel today of place leaders, but we're here today and we're going to speak for the next 35 minutes about how cities and regions are seeking to drive economic growth by stimulating their innovation ecosystem and exploring global connections. We know that cross-border innovation partnerships can enhance economic identity, allow for local economies to differentiate, and can even serve as a source of soft power to influence perceptions of a place in a global arena. So today we brought representatives of cities and regions. They're engaging globally in meaningful and outcome-driven ways. So thank you so much again for joining us. Just a little introduction on the panel again. So Sharon McNicholl, Deputy Chief Executive of Belfast City Council. So Sharon is responsible for the Council's approach to urban innovation and for the Belfast City deal, which includes a £320 million program and investment in innovation. I'm here with Dan as well from the West Midlands Growth Company. The Growth Company has the objective of attracting investment, jobs, visitors, and businesses to the West Midlands. Dan joined in 2020 and leads on the region's business and capital attraction programs, as well as the development of the region's global strategy and global strategy for inward investment. And John, also remarkable career in the Liverpool City region, leading the innovation agenda for over 9 years, and now seeking to maximize the city region's world-leading innovation assets and capabilities. So yeah, thank you again. Very excited to have you here today. So maybe I'll start with you, Sharon. I have a few questions to the panel. So Belfast's urban innovation proposition has been a major driver for economic growth in the city. How are urban innovation and local institutions helping to globalize the city? I think the audience will really like to hear some of the key achievements and lessons learned so far.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. Hands up, anyone who's been to Belfast? Yay! So you'll know it's a great city. It's quite a compact city. It's a very important place, certainly for Northern Ireland and on the island of Ireland and across the rest of the UK. Traditionally, it might have lagged behind a bit in terms of productivity. That's something that has been its experience, but in recent years that has really changed, and that has changed in no small measure due to the impact of the growth of the knowledge economy. And I like to think, I know that a lot of the conversations that we have had around urban innovation, certainly reaching back for years when we weren't actually calling it urban innovation, we were just calling it competitiveness, we were calling it progress, have really been instrumental in that. So thinking about lessons learned and what we've done, I suppose there's three things for me. There's two things I think in this year. On the 1st of April, I will be in local government 30 years. And so I suppose it occurs to me, and for any council colleagues in the room and those of you working with councils, if you want something done, give it to a council. We do like to get things done, and I have 60 elected representatives holding me to account every single day to make sure it is done, so it does concentrate the mind. So we are about translating vision, and we have a strong vision for the city through our Belfast agenda, trying to grow the population considerably and employment in the city by 2035 very considerably, and behind that there's a lot then of work that we're trying to do around infrastructure, housing, etc. But really it is around two main things that you need to make delivery happen, and one is around leadership and the other one is around resources. And so in terms of innovation, in terms of that leadership piece, that has come from a number of places, but essentially it comes through a really strong partnership piece that we have. So I sit on the Innovation City Belfast board, and that is a collaboration between the council and our universities and our further education colleges, Catalyst, which is our local small business accelerator, Belfast Harbour, which owns significant, it's the largest landowner in the city, and it's really incredibly important as well, and Invest Northern Ireland, which is our local development agency. So that shared leadership has been very important in creating that vision, but and kind of like a kind of a shared message that we bring out, and that's really, really important because very important for Belfast because we Invest Northern Ireland, which is our local development agency. We're very, very lucky to have them do fantastic work and fantastic international presence. They work with a lot of client companies, etc., but they don't really have a city agenda, and it's difficult to have a city agenda a bit sometimes in Northern Ireland because, you know, whilst we have a decade of opportunity in terms of an innovation strategy and economic strategy, there is very much a focus on balanced now, and many of you might find this balanced regional growth, which kind of is almost like I suppose I understand that, but I think that the cities still have a very important role to play, and it's about connecting as many people as possible to that. So that leadership role has been very important. The Belfast region City Deal partnership has been incredibly important as well, and that has brought £1 billion worth of investment into the city region, and as you said, a significant amount of that going into the innovation piece. So we have that leadership piece, and we have then the resource piece as well, and to me those two things are absolutely critical, because if you have a vision without resource, it just becomes enormously frustrating for everybody. And so for us, that has been a really, really important piece, and having that skin in the game has given, you know, so we have been able to invest in 5 centres of excellence for innovation and digital technology in the city, and we are also looking at a very significant challenge fund as well to support our local businesses. So that has been really important in terms of, I suppose, creating the infrastructure that gives you an international story to tell as well. Mm-hmm. So for example, something like Studio Ulster, which is one of the City Deal projects, will be a tier 1 new kind of virtual, thank you, sorry, slight brain freeze there. Virtual production facility, a world-class virtual production facility in our city, which will build on the very strong cultural product that smaller companies have been producing, and some of that kind of like really important cultural and creative industries that we've had. So that is an internationally renowned piece of infrastructure, which, taken together with the relationships that you have and some of the resources that you're putting in to skill up people and a skills pipeline around that, gives you something to talk about internationally. So I think that's really, really important. And of course, the work with the Catapult on our digital our Twins programme, and our work with Sejong in South Korea through the Catapult has been very important as well.
Thank you very much, Sharon. You've mentioned city assets and a lot of infrastructure that you have been developing as part of the City Deal. John, from a city region perspective, you are also trying to maximize those assets and innovations in the city region. Can you tell us a little bit more about these initiatives you're leading on and key achievements to date in terms of how these have been able to enhance the city region's global presence?
I'll try. Okay, so as hopefully everyone's heard of Liverpool, whether they've been there or not. 300 years it's been changing the world, but actually, like many places in the north, suffered dramatic post-industrial decline. And 10 years ago, amongst a whole series of other things, we, Liverpool City Region, before it was even Liverpool City Region, and before there was a combined authority, decided to actually explicitly created a dedicated innovation, place-based innovation approach as a key mechanism to not just reverse decline, but create transformational growth. So what did we do? We set up an innovation board. Nothing radical in that, but there wasn't one. Actually, as far as I'm aware, anywhere else in the country, certainly at sub-regional level at the time. It was initially led by the university for a year, but actually for the last 9 years, led by a global industry exec from Unilever. So created a board, commissioned consultants to write a strategy. It was awful, it was too long, it was too conceptual, It was way too unachievable, but at least we had one. And the third thing was creating a post, which was me. So at least we were up and running. Roll forward to 2017, and we did something that, again, doesn't sound very dramatic. We were one of the areas that conducted a science and innovation audit as part of a much broader BASE initiative. And that was a catalytic moment, given that we already had a board, we already had world-leading assets, but none of this was particularly joined up. And we also had a legion of competing priorities. What the science and innovation audit process did was bind people together within a structured environment linked to a national framework, but even more importantly, the outcome of that was the kind of irrefutable evidence that whatever the universities or others said, we were actually demonstrably world leading in three things. In materials chemistry, in infection prevention and control, and AI solutions. And everything we've done since, and I won't at great length, but I'll talk a little bit about that, has been based on that kind of evidence-based smart specialization approach in partnership, driven by collaborative leadership. So roll forward. Last week, at MIPIM, we unveiled our investment zone prospectus. Yes, it's focused on life sciences, but actually the 21 projects cut across a whole series of other innovation assets. We have a £2 billion pound pipeline worth of innovation projects. We have not one, but two major, certainly nationally, if not internationally, significant science and innovation districts. We have we have SciTech Daresbury, which is anchored by STFC Hartree Centre. It's the sister site to Harwell in Oxfordshire that everyone's heard of, but they haven't always heard of Daresbury. Actually, those are the government's two primary science and innovation campuses. We also, however, now have Knowledge Quarter Liverpool. My colleague Rachel's here. Didn't exist 10 years ago. Encompasses half of Liverpool city centre, all of the key anchor institutions, major research hospital, and cultural quarter. So, and then within that, there's been a whole series of major investments. We have the ICON project, the poster child for UK Strength in Places, levered £250 million in 4 years from a £19 million UKRI grant. We have the Materials Innovation Factory, a partnership between University of Liverpool and Unilever, and I could go on. But the kind of last thing, I guess, linked to, is just around partnership. So we've levered all of those assets, those cross-sector leaders together, and the kind of manifestation, a manifestation of that is the partnership and action plan we have with Innovate UK, one of the first places in the country to sign that. And that's absolutely where we want to be, at the forefront in national partnership. Like Belfast, like Birmingham, we're also an innovation twin with a city in Korea. I'll leave it there for now.
Thank you very much, John. Dan, last year, just now talking about the regions more widely, the West Midlands experienced a record amount of foreign direct investment. It would be very interesting to hear a bit more what factors contributed to this increase and whether you faced any challenges and how you overcame them.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Just by way of introduction, really, the West Midlands is, especially for people outside the UK, it's sometimes a little difficult to sort of get to grips with. But if you think of a gentleman called Andy Street, Mayor Andy Street, ex-chief exec for John Lewis, his patch, effectively the combined authority area, are the key cities of Birmingham, Wolverhampton and Coventry. 7 local authorities. There's actually a wider region that is in that sort of sphere of influence. But all up, that region is a population of about 4.7 million. people. It's an economy somewhere, and it fluctuates because Hungary's doing very well at the moment, but somewhere between Croatia and Hungary. So there's a huge dynamic economy that we have on our doorstep. Just by way of the growth company really is around the economic development of that space. It is about increasing profile, and we are a company limited by guarantee. We're standalone, but our shareholders are the local authorities, and we're a triple helix organisation. So we have the universities, the businesses, and the local authorities all at the table. So quite a high degree of agency, something that's been spoken about a lot. So what has made the difference for FDI? Yeah, it was a dramatic year last year. UK flatlined when it came to FDI. Jobs declined overall, but we really did buck the trend. So just to give you a rough measure, we overtook the Southeast UK for the first time for foreign direct investment. London is always an outlier. London and the Southeast traditionally attract about 55% of foreign direct investment. Again, a good measure. We attracted more FDI than Scotland and Wales combined. So quite a big change there. Why was that? Well, we hosted something called the Commonwealth Games. Some of you may know what that is, but I think a mini Olympics for the ex-empire enables us to sort of, well, we had something called the Business and Tourism Programme, which was an injection of capital, which enabled us to increase the sophistication of what we did around foreign direct investment, but also take to the world stage and take our region around the world, engage more effectively as a place. So I can see you looking at a watch, so I'll try and get to the nub of it. So I think the key points in terms of where we got, so it is about capacity. So the capacity we built in the West Midlands is broadly similar to other big international cities, you know, in Northern Europe. You know, this is hygiene stuff which doesn't necessarily exist more broadly in the UK. So that ability to lead on trade and investment and do stuff internationally. Scale narrative. So a big part of what we do is tell stories. And a lot of what's lost in the UK is outside of London. We need to remember there's huge world-class city economies, and we are not doing enough to leverage those opportunities and take them around the world. And then, yeah, I think international engagement. So just by way of example, you know, we can see companies that we engaged internationally on our patch now. They've landed. And also, I think the other key piece is, you know, city diplomacy is a thing, city region diplomacy. You know, when Andy Street was in India, he met the chief execs and chairs of Tata over the space of a day. All those huge business units that, you know, employ about 40,000 people on our patch. So in a nutshell, I think that's, yeah, that's how we got there.
Thank you, Dan. That's very interesting to hear. And I think we talked about a little bit what's happening and what were the main challenges, but looking to the future, I know the West Midlands is currently developing an innovation-led foreign direct investment strategy. So yeah, it would be very interesting to hear a bit more about the strategy and other plans to the future to continue to drive those results for the region and international stage.
So just a quick one on challenges and the ability of UK city regions to engage internationally. You may be aware, you know, UK has a philosophy of UK first, and when it promotes itself internationally, it tends to be a national narrative. And I think we're missing a trick with that in terms of portraying innovation ecosystems and big economies. So that's one of the challenges we face, and I know a lot of other city regions face the same challenge. In terms of what we're doing, so one of the ways we moved the dial on FDI was to launch something called the Global Growth Programme. It sounds simple. It's a scale soft landing package for foreign businesses to land on our patch, free office space, free market entry support, something that's generally lacking in the UK, so actually helping those organisations scale but also engage with the market opportunity. So we attracted 32 businesses, international businesses, through that programme. Patchy was a good learning experience. We're scaling that. So in London Tech, we will be launching something imaginatively called GGP2, which will have nodes against, I think, 6 or 7 of our key innovation assets. So, for example, Warwick Manufacturing Group, is basically the epicenter for EV battery technology in the West Midlands. They will have a node. There'll be another node at a low-carbon R&D-led site. So it's going to become a soft landing system that will bring those innovative business to our key innovation assets. And the other kind of key piece is that piece about telling the story. The working title is The Tech That Makes Tomorrow Work. We actually attract more private sector R&D into our region across the 8 universities than we do from government's coffers, which is very unusual. And also, like in many UK regions, we're in the shade of the Golden Triangle. We have an enormous array of assets, but we don't tell the story effectively internationally. And that's what we're going to be launching again, London Tech Week, where that narrative will start to be rolled out. So I'll leave it there.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Dan. Now, Sharon, Dan mentioned city diplomacy. I understand that one of the initiatives that Belfast has been implementing in collaboration with Connected Places Catapult is the UK Korea Innovation Twin. So it would be great if you could tell us a little bit more about this initiative and how do you plan to use this and similar approaches to enhance innovation collaboration with Korea and beyond.
Thank you. I guess I'm in post, in this current post, about 7 months now, and the first week I was in post we had a delegation from Sejong come to Belfast, so it was my introduction to it. It is very much, for me it is again very much a partnership piece. I think one of the most useful things about that piece, in fact any piece apart from obviously the connections that you make in the learning, is that how it helps you as a city reframe, and particularly as a council, reframe the scope of what's possible and the scope of what communities can see as possible as well, and it just opens up an entirely new perspective on things. And I think if you want to innovate or if you want to be a city that's leading in innovation, I think that's really, really critically important. So I just think being open to that and kind of stepping into that, it's not something Belfast would have traditionally done necessarily with and it was a very new relationship for us. So that was really, really important. I think the universities are critically important to it, absolutely massively important, and they have established through this really strong, they have good international relationships. They're both 2 world-class universities, and they are at the cutting edge of applied research in terms of both some of those knowledge economies and economies of the future that we're thinking about, but also in terms of connecting that to local communities and helping them to see themselves in that. So they have had some they're doing some very good work with the university out there as well. And one of the things, talking about soft landings for businesses when they come to us, but we also need to think about soft landings for our businesses when we go to them. We have a lot of micro businesses, particularly in the creative sector, and in terms of software and all of AI and all of those kinds of things. So how do we ensure a soft landing for them in Korea as well? So our local accelerator, Catalyst, who does fantastic work, has been doing some really interesting things with their counterparts out there, and there's an MOU, they've developed an MOU, and some kind of, that's very new for us as well, and that's the other kind of culturally, MOUs are very important, which was something I discovered as well. We're developing lots of MOUs with Sejong through this as well, which is really, really interesting because it's a commitment then to do some work, and that's really important. The other piece of learning is the importance of personal relationships and integrity, and that kind of say-do type of thing as well. And I think culturally that's very important, and that's been an important part of us building our relationship. So yeah, we have it's still I suppose in its infancy. We're going out at the end of April. We've got a very kind of full programme of activities there that include a lot of cultural activities as well as kind of business related activities. And that was the thing for me, is the cultural element of it is very, certainly our Sejong counterparts are very interested in the cultural element of coming and to Belfast and kind of how we tell our stories and the history and all of that kind of thing as well. And so they've had a lot of which hadn't been planned at all, which is kind of spun out as building relationships with our museums and our arts and cultural sector, which is really important as well. Very important for us as we have a very significant cultural investment in the city as part of our city deal, Belfast Stories, which will be coming online 2028-29. And we're trying to think about what does that kind of experience look like in 28-29, and working with people inside Young is helping us with that, because clearly their creative sector is absolutely massive. It's been massively important to their their productivity and their competitiveness, and it has given them, I think, probably enormous soft power as well, and which is something that creative things do. So whilst it started as quite a technical, researchy, kind of like businessy type of thing, over here it has become much more of a cultural relationship, which is lovely, actually, as well, and something I think that you need in order to develop, because no matter what it is that you're doing, relationships are still built on trust. And so it is with relationships based around innovation. So building that trust has been really important. So yeah.
Great, thank you, Sharon. And we've been working with Liverpool as well on the South Korea Innovation Twins. But John, you've mentioned the life science investment zone briefly. Can you tell us a little bit more about what are the plans for it to act as an enabler for global connections and investment attraction for the region, for the city region?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the important thing to note with the investment zone is whilst both externally and locally, it was perceived as almost a miracle, the speed with which we being the Liverpool City region, not the combined authority, the speed with which we've amassed a credible, deliverable program of investments. But actually, what was really important for us, and I dare say for the other 11 investment zones in the country, was actually just providing for once, better than piffling slug of money to do stuff. And so in essence it's just turbocharged what we were already intending to do anyway, not entirely but in the main. Yes, it's focused on health and life sciences, but as I said earlier, we also have world-leading capabilities in AI and materials. And what's been amazing to see in terms of the development of our own innovation ecosystem, certainly over the last 5 years, is not just the scale of projects and programs, but the degree to which the anchor institutions, the key assets, and those world-leading capabilities have cross-pollinated, using the word from the keynote session earlier, and so yeah, the fact that it's a flagship government programme that we're at the forefront of, hence launching our prospectus last week, of course, those, the whole point of it is, part of the point of it is to drive FDI, because, we don't have the spectacular record of achievement that West Midlands has, but, of course, we want and need to drive much greater direct investment. How do you do that? You do it through the things you're world leading at in terms of people, assets, capabilities, and partnerships. So yeah, I can send, through the CPC, send a link to the prospectus. I'm not going to bore you by talking you through everything that's in it. Suffice to say, 21 projects across skills, across business development and acceleration, across state-of-the-art place, space and labs, and of course a series of high-profile, very significant R&D programs, not just across life sciences, but actually across advanced manufacturing and all aspects of health, from pediatric medicine right through to kind of end of life, with taking in mental health along the way. But all of that data and AI and digital driven as well. So health and life science, kind of the title, that's what the letter from the Secretary of State suggested we might want to focus on, but of course we've used that as a vehicle to accelerate, as I say, our already fairly dynamic and very focused innovation agenda.
Excellent. Thank you so much, John. This was very insightful. So I think we're running out of time, unfortunately. Thank you so much for the panelists again. It was really a big pleasure to have you here with us. Thanks everyone for attending. Unfortunately, we don't have much time for questions, but I'm sure you will be outside and available for questions. Yeah, thank you so much again. And
Thank you.
See you later.
Thank
Take
you.
care.